Pinchen from Canine Vitality, back today to share with you my concerns around the use of two commonly used drugs in our dogs. Now, for those of you dog lovers out there that have or know of a dog that has suffered from any sort of skin condition, there are two words you'll know very well: antibiotics and steroids. Now, these two drugs are used extensively to treat itchy skin and allergy skin problems. But of course, they're also prescribed for many other conditions, including any type of infection and inflammatory autoimmune diseases. So in this two-part video series, I wanted to bring to your attention the issues around the use of these drugs over the long term and how they can negatively impact on your dog's health. And in our second video, we'll take a look at some better, more natural alternatives that you can turn to instead of always needing to rely on these two medications. Now, firstly, I want to make it really clear to you that I'm not against the use of these drugs in emergency or life-threatening situations. Now, both antibiotics and steroids have the capacity to save lives, save your dog's life, and this is where they can be of benefit in the short term. However, what I'm referring to is the use or overuse of these drugs in the treatment of chronic health issues, including those annoying skin conditions. So, what is so damaging with these drugs, and why am I so concerned for your dog? Let's take a look. Now, we live in such a fast-paced society and everyone is looking for quick fix. And when it comes to the health of your dog, it's no different. I get that. I know that none of you want to see your beautiful dog suffer. And when you're watching your dog in any sort of distress at all, the first thing you want to do is you want to stop it as soon as possible. But you know, this is where it can be so easy to fall into a pattern of relying on these fast-acting drugs to deal with the problem. Unfortunately, like anything in life, when you take a shortcut rather than do the job properly, you're bound to end up with a half-finished job. Such is the case with both of these drugs. So firstly, let's look at why steroids are so problematic. Now, corticosteroids, or more commonly steroids, are among the most commonly prescribed conventional treatment drug for dogs with any inflammatory issue. Now, corticosteroids are actually produced naturally in your dog's body, where they control the metabolism of fat, carbohydrate, and protein, and they also control inflammation and regulate water in the body. But synthetic steroids, however, are well known as suppressing agents. They suppress symptoms, and this is exactly why they appear to bring your dog such a rapid result. Now, have you ever been prescribed a steroid for your dog's health issue? And sometimes within even hours of starting the drug, the problem just miraculously seems to go away. Now, while it may appear to have resolved, at a deeper level, all that has really happened is that those symptoms have simply been pushed more deeply into the body. Now, imagine, if you will, that you put a huge cork in the top of an erupting volcano. Now, pretty soon the pressure would build up so much that you'd simply just blow that cork out and there'd be just a massive eruption. Now, some of you may have seen this effect of steroids in this way when your dog has been taking a course of these drugs. And when they finish the course, pretty soon, sometimes within days, the symptoms return, but this time they seem a whole lot worse. Now, you see, this is what's going on underneath all of this is that the body is desperately trying to achieve balance and healing. And one of the ways it does this in any disease state is to try and rid itself of toxins or waste products. So if we then put a drug into the body that's counterproductive to this process, I'm sure you can see that this might cause a problem. Now, when steroids are given over long periods of time, this is where it can push those disease symptoms deeper and deeper into the body, eventually leading to a much more serious disease, including cancer. So this is the biggest issue around these drugs. But in addition, there are many other side effects that these drugs can cause, including the weakened immune system, an increase in allergies, weight gain, increased urination, ulcers and other gastrointestinal symptoms, blood clots, diabetes, pancreatitis, hair loss, and an increased thirst and appetite. Now, these can all shorten your dog's life. So I'm sure you can see that while these drugs can be life-saving in emergency situations, in chronic or ongoing problems, they're simply not the best answer and can lead to long-term damage of your dog's health. Now, antibiotics, well, it's well known also that these drugs are also life-saving, and this can be, this is where they're really helpful. But as we've seen with the steroids, when they are prescribed for more of these chronic problems, they tend to have all sorts of damaging side effects. Particularly if our dogs have a skin infection or rash, it's very tempting to rush off to our vet for an antibiotic. But like a steroid, these are simply not the answer, especially for our dog's long-term health. Now, we're often hearing today about antibiotic-resistant bacteria. It's not only a serious concern for us humans, it's a rapidly growing problem for our dogs. The decision to use an antibiotic should never really be taken lightly. They shouldn't be prescribed unless absolutely necessary, i.e. that life-threatening situation. Aside from the ability of bacteria to mutate and change and develop resistance, these drugs do immense damage to your dog's gut, and this has a negative effect on the overall immune system. Now, recent research has shown that for many dogs, even just a single course of antibiotics can permanently damage and alter that gut and gut flora. So this means that your dog's going to be far more prone to leaky gut syndrome and allergies and all sorts of other problems. So if your dog has a recurring infection, have you ever noticed that with every subsequent antibiotic that's being prescribed, it seems to take a lot longer to work and seems to be less effective? Now, I've seen this many times with many dogs and many issues. Only recently, I was having a conversation with a new client who told me that her dog had been prescribed antibiotics for over a long period of time for an ongoing eye infection. Now, while the drugs appeared to work initially, over time they've become less and less effective and now don't really do anything at all. And this is a really common story. Why is this happening? Well, aside from that antibiotic resistance, these drugs, as I said, damage the gut and destroy important beneficial gut bacteria, which really have an influence on the immune system, weakening it. So any infection already present will be less responsive to the antibiotic because the immune defense is far lower. So we can see that both antibiotics and steroids are a damaging duo for your dog. Even just one of these drugs alone is highly problematic. But it's really not uncommon for a dog to be prescribed both of these at once. So we've seen today that they have negative impacts on the immune system and the body in general. And they don't build health, but rather weaken it over time. Now, in part 2 of this video blog, we'll be taking a look at some better alternatives that are natural to both steroids and antibiotics. So stay tuned for that coming next week. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this post today on antibiotics and steroids, a damaging duo for your dog. Now, has your dog been on one or both of these drugs? If so, I want to hear about it. Please pop your story down in the comments box below. And don't forget also to like, comment and share this post and subscribe to my channel for the latest updates. And if you'd like to work with me with your dog's health issue, you can find out more about that in the comments section below as well. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you next week in our next video. And for then, up until then, we'll talk to you very soon. But have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.